Hey, Facebook. Good evening. It's, wow, first day of December, I think. Is that what it is? Jennifer Burke with PolitiStick here. And, there's so much that's happened in the last week. I mean, so much that I could talk about, so much that I almost talked about. That we had the terrorist attack on the Ohio State University campus, which some people are still trying to figure out what the guy's motive was, even though he praised a radical imam and spoke out against America. We have Barack Obama blaming Fox News for the Democrats' loss because it can't be that they're out of touch with most everyday Americans. But what I want to talk to you about is this renewed war on Christianity from the left. One day after a terrorist attack on the Ohio State University campus, which, thank goodness, there was a concrete structure that made the guy's car stop and rendered it immobile. Otherwise, we would have, probably had more destruction and actual death in that attack. And thank goodness for the quick acting university police officer who stopped the terrorist who had a knife we had a good guy with a gun stopping the terrorist who was trying to attack somebody. And one day after this happens, we have BuzzFeed going after Chip and Joanna Gaines of Fixer Upper fame. Now, if you've never watched this show, I strongly encourage you to watch it. I don't think it's any small coincidence that this hit piece against Chip and Joanna came out on the very day that season 4 was debuting. I've been eagerly waiting for the season 4 debut of Fixer Upper. Now, for those of you that don't know, Chip and Joanna live in Waco, Texas. They both went to Baylor University, which is in Waco, and they fix up old historical houses and bring them back to life within their city. They've had people try to entice them to go to other towns, to maybe bring their business other places, but they are dedicated to their community, and they have made a huge difference in their community. Waco is now a hot tourist spot because of Chip and Joanna Gaines. And rather than some houses being torn down, history is being preserved with them remodeling these houses in just this gorgeous, beautiful fashion. They have a beautiful family, 4 children, live on a farm, lots of animals, great marriage. You can just tell they're laughing together. They get along. And of course, leftists hate that, very obviously, because now here comes the witch hunt against Chip and Joanna Gaines. They're Christians. They're unabashed Christians. They shouldn't have to explain themselves to anybody. They shouldn't have to explain their Christian views to anybody. But for some reason, BuzzFeed and Cosmopolitan think that they should have to answer because their evangelical pastor said that homosexuality is a sin. Their Christian pastor said homosexuality is a sin. And for that, obviously, now BuzzFeed and Cosmopolitan must now want to bring Chip and Joanna Gaines down. They want them to explain themselves. Do they agree that homosexuality is, as BuzzFeed said, quote unquote, a sin? Give me a freaking break. If your church isn't preaching that homosexuality is a sin, if they're preaching that it's not, some churches probably don't even talk about it. But if they're saying it's not, then they're not based on biblical principles. It's that plain and simple. Anything that's good, anything that's any couple or person that espouses their Christian beliefs have been the subject of attack and ridicule by leftists for years now. And now Chip and Joanna, they've never brought up homosexuality. They've never talked about it. Do they believe it's a sin? What does it matter? They remodel old homes. What does it matter? And I love this part in this Cosmopolitan article. They say, given the diversity of Fixer Upper's audience, this is a startling revelation that their pastor preaches that homosexuality is a sin that has left many wondering where Chip and Joanna stand. What does it matter? Once again. And they go on to say how, they have a diverse group of people that watch their show. Therefore, they really need to explain themselves. And their silence, Chip and Joanna, they don't want to talk about it. They're not answering calls for interviews for an explanation on where they stand on homosexual marriage. They shouldn't have to. Their personal belief system is their personal belief system, period. That's it. I love this one response to this Cosmopolitan article from a guy on Twitter who actually is a gay man. He said, if the boyfriend and I met them, I'm sure they'd be incredibly gracious. They have one of the best shows on TV. Gaines is better than Kardashians. Good for him for not labeling anybody that might not agree with homosexuality as a homophobe, as the left loves to do. Good for him for actually calling Cosmopolitan out on that. Now, I'm glad to say I've gone through a bunch of social media. I'm glad to say that I haven't seen a ton of people going after the Gaineses. I've actually seen more people go after BuzzFeed and after Cosmopolitan for their witch hunt against the Gaineses and wanting them to explain their Christian belief system. So thank goodness that's not happening. But you got to know the militant left is not going to stop. Just like Sweet Cakes by Melissa in Oregon, just like the florist in Eastern Washington, just like every other Christian business that said, you know what, I'd be happy to make you a cake. I'd be happy to give you a floral arrangement, but I don't want to actively participate by designing a cake for your homosexual wedding. I appreciate you being longtime customers of my floral shop, and I'll sell you flowers, but my belief system, I don't want to design a bouquet for your homosexual wedding. And for that, these people have had not only individuals going after them and basically bringing their business down, they've had the government, their state and local governments and the federal government going after them to destroy their business. Sweet Cakes by Melissa lost their business. And beyond that, when someone tried to set up a GoFundMe account to help them pay their bills, GoFundMe shut it down. And the state of Oregon ended up wiping out their bank account. And so how are they going to fend for them and their children? Anyone who stands on the side of freedom of religion needs to stand up for Chip and Joanna Gaines, because you got to know, pretty soon here, we're going to see some militant leftist group go after their advertisers. We're going to see them go after HGTV and try to convince them to end the show. Why? Because Chip and Joanna Gaines dare to go to a church that preaches that homosexuality is a sin. Is this where we are in America? A day after a terrorist attack by a radical, a Muslim Somali refugee, now you're trying to change the storyline and attack innocent, well-meaning, good people, Chip and Joanna Gaines? That's where we are in America, I guess. It's actually, it's beyond ludicrous. And if you think that might not happen, I hope it doesn't happen. Chip and Joanna, I'm sure, bringing a lot of money for HGTV. But don't forget the Benham brothers. They had a show that was supposed to start around the same time that Fixer Upper started. They're evangelical Christian preachers, and the left caught wind that, oh my gosh, they believe in traditional marriage, started an attack against them, and brought that show down before it even happened. So I want to say right here and right now, I stand with Chip and Joanna Gaines. Fixer Upper is a great show. They are a great couple. They've done a lot for the city. My husband and I actually went to Waco. We purposefully altered our trip so that we could spend a day in Waco and check out a lot of things, not just about their Magnolia Market, but about the town, because they make the town of Waco seem so endearing, and that's why they've done so much for tourism there. So I will continue to support Chip and Joanna Gaines. I will speak out against this anti-Christian witch hunt by BuzzFeed and Cosmopolitan, and I encourage every single one of you out there to do the same. Because if we don't, this war on Christianity will continue, and the left won't stop until we all are in lockstep with their progressive ideology. And if it goes against our Christian faith, so be it. They could give a rip. They're too busy protecting Islam to even care about Christianity. Stand with Chip and JoJo. Thanks, Facebook. God bless you and God bless America.